In this example, we have a graph of a function and we need to find limits. So first is we're going to find the f of 3, which is the function value at 3. So x value is 3. What is the y value? That is the function value. Y value is the function value. So we have x value is 3. The y value is here. We have this point which is at 2. So it is 2. Next one is the x goes to 3 plus, which is the right limit. Right limit at 3, which means x approaches 3 from the right side. What happens to the y value? So we have 3 here and x approaches 3. So we're going to choose some x and x approaches 3. So if x is here, x is a moving point, and then what is the corresponding y? And then as x moves towards 3, what happens to the y value? It approaches this open circle, which is at 1. Next one is x goes to 3 minus, which is the left limit. X approaches 3 from the left side. What happens to the y value? So we're going to choose an x here. So as x approaches 3 from the left side, which means that for any x, there is a corresponding y on the graph of the function. And then it approaches this open circle, which is at height 4. So f of x value is the y value. So limit values are all y values. The fourth one is limit x goes to 3. The limit x goes to 3 means x goes to 3 on either side. The limit will exist if left limit and right limit are finite and equal. Of course, the left limit and right limit exist but are not equal. So this does not exist. So we're going to work with the same graph but find limits at another x value. So here in the next one, it's the same graph, but we're going to find limits at 0. So first question is f of 0, which is the function value at 0. X equal to 0, what is the y value? So x equal to 0, the y value is at 1. Then as x approaches 0 plus, which is the right limit. So x approaches 0 from the right side. What happens to y value? So there is 0 and x approaches 0 from the right side. So if you choose x values here, what happens to the corresponding y values? It approaches this height 1. On the left side, x approaches 0, minus is from the left side. What happens to the y value? So x is here and it approaches 0 from the left. So the y value approaches what? Again 1. So left limit and right limit exist and are equal. So the limit at 0 equal to 1. So we're going to move on to the third part, which is the same graph, but we're going to discuss limits at negative 3. So f of negative 3, which means when x equal to negative 3, what is the y value? So from the graph, we can see that at negative 3, there is no point on the graph. Undefined. There is no point on the graph. Function is undefined at negative 3. Then we have the right limit. X goes to negative 3 from the right side. What happens to the y value? So we're going to choose x here and x moves towards negative 3 from the right side. So what happens to the y value? It kind of becomes larger and larger and shoots up. It goes to positive infinity. Left limit. X goes to negative 3 from the left side. So we're going to choose x here and it approaches negative 3. So what happens to the point on the graph? It shoots down, goes to negative infinity. The limits are not finite, and so the limit at -3 does not exist.